And it's A Leg Up with Dr. Randall Juleff from the La Bella Vita Laser and Vein Center. The podcast about how you can keep your legs healthy and strong so you can put your dancing shoes on. I'm Spud McConnell here with you and Dr. Randall Juleff, so let's get right to it. Spud McConnell here, hosting A Leg Up with Dr. Randall Juleff from La Bella Vita Vein. La Bella Vita Laser and Vein Center.
That is the whole name, yes.
Where you come up with that big name? You could just call it La Bella Vita. You sound like that Ricky Martin dude. You know, you should be cracking out a bottle of wine over here while we're talking.
Live in La Bella Vita.
Yeah, you're right.
I've been told it's a little long, there's a couple of different ways to go when you pick a name. It's you're going to go geographic, or are you going to go your name, or are you going to go like creative? And I tried to get creative. Maybe it was a little too creative.
Well, it's happy though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. La Bella Vita is Italian. It means the beautiful life.
Yeah.
So,
well, I've seen some of the pictures of some of the legs that you've dolled up, and I'm going, they weren't bad before. They look good now, though. I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, when I first met you, was this venous insufficiency, which is a term that you use a lot, and I'm assuming that it's one of the, if not the biggest thing, it's certainly one of the biggest things that you do here. Exactly what is venous insufficiency? And we'll start from there, and we'll go through symptoms, and we'll go through treatments and all of that, and what happens if you don't treat it. What is venous insufficiency, and does it occur just in the legs?
Venous insufficiency basically just is a fancy term that means the veins aren't working the way they should. And yeah, you're right. Probably 95% of what we treat here has to do, in one way or another, with venous insufficiency. We do a little bit of work that is purely cosmetic, spider veins.
Yeah, we're going to get into them on another one because I got a lot of questions about that.
So, but that's not a lot of what we do. Most of what we do is venous insufficiency, and that's a real medical problem. You know, a lot of people will come in and they've got varicose veins and all sorts of problems. And they said, well, gee, my doctor's been telling me for years that it's just cosmetic. Don't worry about it. But it's not. If anybody who has varicose veins, for instance, 99.9% of the time, they're going to have this thing called venous insufficiency. And that's a medical problem that has, a certain number of risks that go along with it, and they need to be evaluated.
What is it?
So what is venous insufficiency?
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of know what it is. From what I understand, your veins just aren't getting the volume of blood back up to the heart like they should.
Right.
And we spoke a little bit about it in your pilot episode.
Yeah.
Moving your leg, moving the muscles actually do it, not the heart. But, I mean, I really want to wait till another episode to talk about varicose veins and spider veins. But how would you know, other than those big bulging veins, that you have venous insufficiency? What should I be looking for to say there's something wrong with me?
Yeah. And that's one of the hurdles that we have a hard time getting over all the time. And that's why I try to do as many educational things like this, so that people know, because often people don't know that they have venous insufficiency and the symptoms that come along with it, and they have to rely on seeing our ads in the paper or hearing the ad on the radio or whatever, and then they say, especially if it's an ad that has pictures, and they see a leg that looks terrible, and they say, oh man, my leg looks like that, so. Then they come in and they say, hey, is this venous insufficiency? And, most of the time we say, yes, it is. But, venous insufficiency, means the veins aren't working the way they do. Veins are the blood vessels that carry blood back to the heart. So when veins start to fail in their function, the blood, rather than moving upward toward the heart, it actually starts to move downward, starts to gravitate, to the lower part of the leg. And then the blood hangs out too long in the lower part of the leg. A lot of people will say, gee, I have leaky valves. And I
could edit that right out. You want to get a drink of water? I can edit all that
I
out.
had a tickle and I was trying.
I know. That's why I've been sitting there drinking my coffee too.
Okay. What was the last thing I said?
You're talking about the veins at the how the veins are not bringing it back up to the top.
So when veins start to fail in their function, the blood, rather than continually moving upward, now starts to settle downward in the leg, mainly because of gravitational pull.
Mm-hmm.
And that blood hanging out in the lower leg too long is then what causes the symptoms. And usually I relate it to a dam. If you have a dam, it's not like the blood is leaking outside of the vein. The blood is staying within the circulatory system, but there's a dam that's interfering with the flow of the river, and so you have this reservoir that builds up, and that reservoir of blood in the leg then creates symptoms.
Why do you? I just now when you're saying all this stuff, I have this vision of the Saturday Night Live Theodoric of York and how the barber who would bleed you to make you feel better. I mean, who came up with that one? I mean, is that because people would see like bulging legs or something like that and go, let's let some of the blood out? Or they would just, throw a chicken on the ground and whichever way it was facing, that's what they were going to do.
Yeah, well, way back, they bled people because they thought they were getting rid of the bad humors.
Yeah.
So that was one part of it. However, interestingly enough, back again, also in ancient times, there are writings that have to do with the treatment of varicose veins back then 2,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they tried was bleeding the vein, incising the vein and letting the blood leak out. Well, they found out pretty quickly that that was not a remedy.
Yeah.
And the veins persisted. But so that's what happens. The blood in the venous system in the leg spends too much time in the lower leg before it, slowly makes its way back up. Now, what are the symptoms that causes? Well, again, when people have varicose veins or even spider veins can be a part of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But when they have, superficial veins, it's easy, for them to identify that as a vein problem. Now, usually they think that the varicose vein is the problem. They don't know about the root problem being these bigger veins that are deeper in the leg where the valves are failing.
We can't see them, yeah.
But so that's easy. Everybody knows varicose vein. I have a vein problem, but there's so many other symptoms that might arise, and many patients don't even have varicose veins. They have just these other symptoms. So the three most common are achiness, heaviness, and fatigue. So if people...
I got all of that.
Yeah. So and a lot of people will come in and say, my legs have been tired for years,
Yeah.
And or my whole body is tired. Can you help me there?
Well, but that's just it too. These symptoms can be symptoms of so many other things. I mean,
sure.
How far down the list before people actually go, well, have you tried venous insufficiency? Go see Randall Juleff, see what he's got to say.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people have come to you and you're like the 6th or 7th or 8th doctor that they're trying to figure out, diagnose them correctly?
It happens not uncommonly, definitely. Because people just don't know. One of the so achy, heavy, fatigue. Those are three very, very common symptoms. We've talked about swelling.
Yeah.
Swelling is an extremely common symptom, and probably most of the time, if a person has swelling in the lower extremities and they don't have other medical problems, they don't have bad heart disease or lung disease or whatever, then it is most likely venous insufficiency. Brownish discoloration of the lower leg. A lot of people feel like, that's due to diabetes, and that's just it. But most of the time, the discoloration in the lower leg that you see in people, and I see it every day of the week walking around, stores or whatever. That's very, very commonly venous insufficiency. The other thing is,
yeah, well, you're just saying that now, and I just have this image of you going up to somebody in line at the Wally World and go, "Oh, say, bro, here's my card. Come show me your legs," or something like that. But
I have a great deal of difficulty not doing that.
I can see you do it because I know you, man. Look, y'all don't know this doctor right here. This is a very caring man. We'll talk about some of the other. This guy's got clinics all over the place, so he's treating thousands of people with this stuff because there ain't that many people like you, is there?
Not a lot. Yeah.
Well, there you go. But that's just it. It's like, I can very easily see you going, "Well, I think there's something wrong with your legs. Here's my card. Come see me."
Yeah. Well, I should do more of that, but I don't want to embarrass people. But in any case, swelling and discoloration. And then as it goes on even longer, the discoloration can turn into kind of a thickened skin, and the skin starts to get abnormal, feeling and looking.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is people can develop a rashy kind of reaction.
I've seen that.
To the lower leg, especially in those people with that brownish discoloration. Yeah. And we call that venous eczema. And it can look like eczema. Well, I can't tell you the number of people that we have gotten from either a dermatologist referring them to us, or the patient saying, "Oh yeah, I was going to my dermatologist for months, and they were giving me this and that and whatever, and then we saw your commercial."
Yeah.
But that's another thing that all of the skin problems that people can have in the lower leg. They have no idea that that's due to venous insufficiency, or because they've never heard the term venous insufficiency.
I never heard of it until I met you.
Yeah. So again, that's why I love to talk about this stuff in these kind of situations, to try to educate people, because they're suffering unnecessarily. I can't tell you just with respect to the first three symptoms: achy, heavy, and fatigue. Invariably people come in and they say, "Oh, well, I thought I was just getting old." But it's not necessarily just that. Age does contribute, but even if you're old, sometimes or often we can make your legs feel much better.
But okay, so those three symptoms, let's go into treatment. All right, if somebody's come over here and you put your ultrasound coolie thing on them, which is incredibly cool. As I was saying before, they run it up and down the side of your leg, but it's like you're looking down. You can look into the veins themselves and the arteries themselves, like going down the leg, and yet this ultrasound wand is running up and down the side of your leg. So y'all can be making all that stuff up. I don't know. It's like Mel Blanc is going to do a voice for this kind of thing here pretty soon.
Yeah.
What are you looking for when you run that thing up and down the leg? And then we'll talk about how do you treat this kind of stuff. So what exactly are you looking for when you run that ultrasound thing up and down somebody's leg?
Well, when people develop this problem, like we've talked about, the valve, there are a bunch of little valves in the veins that keep the blood moving in the right direction. Those valves fail, and the blood starts to actually move in the wrong direction. Rather than going up, it goes down. And we can actually see that on the ultrasound.
Oh, okay.
And that's what we look for. So in the ultrasound, in a number of different ways, is able to show us that. Mechanically, what we're doing is that we're squeezing the leg and making the blood go up as we're watching it in a vein with the ultrasound machine. And then when we let go, then that blood is either going to just stay there. When we squeeze, it goes up. Mm-hmm. When we let go, it's either going to stay there or it's going to fall back down if the valves are not working.
And that's part of the insufficiency.
And that's the sign that patient has venous insufficiency in that one vein in that area. So that's what we look for, basically. That's what we look for.
All right, what do you do? How do you fix that? First thing I would think of telling me this is getting a recliner. And anytime you're sitting, first off, you need to sit. You need to get up and move around to make the muscles squeeze the blood up, like you told me before.
Right. Right.
But if you're going to relax, or if you're like when you go to bed, I mean, should you elevate your legs and help the blood gravity flow back to your heart like that?
Elevation is, as it turns out, very important. Yes, you're absolutely right. And when we say, you got to elevate your legs, especially in those people with chronic swelling.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, many people just don't like to elevate their legs, but it really can be a therapeutic endeavor, especially in people that have, long-standing venous insufficiency and chronic swelling. There's compression, but elevation does a world of good.
I was told like to wear one of those compression socks things that went all the way up your leg.
Right.
I'd rather elevate. I found it very uncomfortable, and quite frankly, at the end of the day, my feet were killing me.
Yeah. The compression stockings can be uncomfortable for sure, especially the really high ones. Usually we can get people into more of a knee-high kind of compression stocking, and there's a variety of different styles, and they've got sport socks and all this sort of stuff. So, usually we can find something that most people are going to be happy with. So with respect to treating, how do we treat that? Well, the first question there is, how did we used to treat it?
Is this a disease, first of all, or is this
we refer to it as venous disease.
Okay. Yeah. How was it even discovered before you had this cool ultrasound machine? Before that came around? I mean, since the technology has come by, we've seen a lot of things change. So did venous insufficiency even exist before the ultrasound was able to discover it?
Yes.
And there you go. So go elevate your feet and get a couple of, squeeze your legs while you're laying down there drinking a Mai Tai or something.
That's a good question. And before we had the ultrasound, there were a number of different tests that were kind of complicated and cumbersome. And, but they did in one way or another show that the veins weren't working very well. However, if you wanted to, really visualize and really, nail down what was going on, you had to do a venogram. A venogram is a angiogram kind of thing.
Okay.
We put a little catheter in a vein down in the lower part of the leg. We squirt dye in there, and then you have to watch it with the X-ray machine. So that becomes a lot more complicated than doing an ultrasound in the office. That's something that you
can also see a lot more patients now with all this modern equipment.
Absolutely.
Because when I had it, 10 minutes?
Yeah,
10 minutes.
Very quick.
So,
the ultrasound machine has been a tremendous thing for us. But there are other physical examination kind of signs that you can utilize by elevating the leg and then having the patient stand up and holding compressing certain spots of the veins, that kind of stuff. And again, it's nowhere near as accurate or as definitive as the ultrasound machine. We knew about it. We've known about it for a long time. Like I mentioned, 2,000 years ago, we were talking about varicose veins and how should they be treated. Hippocrates, who lived quite a while ago.
Yeah, a couple of years. Back from the 50s, I think. Yeah.
Right. He, it's amazing what he understood as far as, what poor vein function meant and what it might lead to. It was really quite amazing. He was the first one to kind of connect poor vein function and venous ulceration, which we haven't talked about yet.
No, but we're gonna. Oh no, we're gonna talk about some stuff. I can tell you that.
So it's amazing, you're looking back. I mean, when you compare the technology that we have today, like the ultrasound machine, and compare it to what those people had hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but they still figured it out. It's amazing.
Well, it's a calling.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a vocation. It's a calling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't been called to do what you do. I don't want to see none of that. Thank you. I don't even look at them when they stick me to get blood from diabetes stuff.
Yeah.
Do people who have diabetes automatically have venous insufficiency?
Not necessarily. The two are not directly related in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Do people with diabetes have venous insufficiency? Sure. Are there plenty of people that have venous insufficiency but don't have diabetes? Oh yeah, a lot of them. So the two aren't directly related, but sometimes the symptoms can be similar and confused.
Which is, again, why you were so surprised that my veins weren't so crappy, because I have every symptom, period, to say I have venous insufficiency. But I have, I have my feet are numb.
Yeah.
Now I'm stuck on the word. I use
neuropathy.
I want to say necropathy, but it's like, no, that's my toenails. No, I'm curing that though. I'm seeing this nice little doctor who's fixing my feet. I got all these issues just because I didn't take good enough care for myself when I was younger. And my mother had diabetes. My father had hyperglycemia. I knew one of them was coming. Yeah. If I'd have backed off at around 40 instead of living the high life, I might not be in the boat that I'm in now. But I think I was susceptible to get it one way or t'other. When it hit me like a train.
Genetics, it means a lot for sure in most disease processes. And actually, in venous insufficiency, probably genetics is the most important feature with respect to your risk for venous insufficiency. So, neither of your parents probably had vein problems.
You got me.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're going. Yeah, right. I do have. I inherited this from my father, which is called familial tremens. Our hands shake. You ought to see my brother trying to light his cigar, If you could fix that with an ultrasound, I'd be here every day getting shot, but.
Yeah.
Next time we're going to talk about, though, again, so it's kind of like high blood pressure and diabetes, the silent killers. I mean, you can have venous insufficiency and not look like you can have a really nice pair of stems and all of a sudden they're just not working right. So beautiful though they may be, you got venous insufficiency. So it probably would behoove you to come and spend 10 minutes getting an ultrasound.
Right.
Next time on A Leg Up, let's talk about those bulging veins and spider veins and then how they interact with venous insufficiency and how they affect the rest of the body. Because, everything is kind of interactive. One thing, it's like I have to go get colonoscopies. Because every time I go, they find polyps. Not every polyp turns into cancer, but every cancer starts as a polyp.
Right.
I am a polyp factory. My brother, none.
Right.
Both my brothers, none. So I guess I got the polyp gene, So it's like, it was there genetics involved in all this. If your parents had leg and vein problems, do you think you probably have them? If you're a long distance, I got neighbors who are like, this woman is so incredibly healthy because she's a runner. She can't run no more. Her knees are shot, Right. And I came out of the womb with crummy knees, so I've never been a runner. But it's like, okay, if you're a runner, are you more susceptible to venous insufficiency, even though you are using your leg muscles and squeezing that bud back up the way it's supposed to be? So I want to delve a whole lot more into this, but we got a long time to catch up with this. This ain't no 2 or 3 podcast gig here with Dr. Randall Juleff.
We've got plenty to talk about.
Well, let's quickly talk about just where can people find you? If we're on the North Shore at your North Shore clinic, and this is on what, Lonesome Road?
Lonesome Road.
Don't look that lonesome.
In Mandeville. We've got 2 offices. One here in Mandeville, which is where we are right now. And it's on Highway 190 on the way to Old Mandeville. But we have a relatively newer office in Metairie. We opened on the South Shore about 1.5 years ago. But I think for purposes of communication, our website, labellavitavein.com, and there's not only our contact info, but there's a lot of additional information and videos, and it can be very interactive and stuff. So,
and for all the people out there who are really concerned, it's like, I'm not sure because they're leery of doctors, but there's videos on that site, and this ultrasound is so. And all the
easy.
people who work here are so professional. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Or the phone number is 985-892-2955. Of course, always call. But if you're not sure, don't hesitate to come in and see us if you're not sure about whether you have it or not, because we hear that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We say, people will come in and say, well, gee, I don't know if I'm being too vain,
Oh, no, don't tell me they don't really say that. Oh, no. Tell me it ain't so.
Or am I being too reactive or whatever? But if you're not sure, come in. We can so easily figure it all out. Again, do an ultrasound. We talk to you for a while, and it's pretty quick and easy and painless.
That's the biggest thing. It's painless, complete. I sat on the edge of a bed. I brought gym shorts, just because I'm a gentleman. But the guy was a guy who did my legs. But I just wore a pair of gym shorts under my pants.
Yeah.
Dropped trowel there. I mean, my gym shorts, and they ran it. And it wasn't, literally 6, 7 minutes, 8 minutes at the most. And I was watching the screen the whole time they did it. It's like, it was fascinating.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we try to point things out to people and make it a little interesting, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's episode 2 of A Leg Up with Dr. Randall Juleff here at La Bella Vita Laser and Vein Center.
Right.
I'm going to have to start writing that down. Your business card's about 1.5 feet long. We'll see you again in 2 weeks with much more interesting conversation. Thanks for joining us here. Make sure you tune in next time for more information about how you can keep your legs happy and healthy here on A Leg Up with Dr. Randall Juleff from La Bella Vita Laser and Vein Center. See you next time.